How's it going, y'all? This is Nick with HoustonCaseManagers.com, and in this video I want to talk to you about the state of Harris County evictions in relationship to COVID-19. So right now, this bug, coronavirus, has caused lots of layoffs, and because of that, people can't pay their rent on time. Landlords, tenants, there are all types of questions about their rights. So in this video, I want to share some information with you that I found, and also specific places that you can go to get some of your questions answered. So in addition to talking to you about when the courts might open back up, I also want to share with you information about rent assistance options in Houston, an electricity program that can potentially assist people who are unemployed or receive state benefits. And then last, a mediator in Houston. So if there's a tenant and landlord, if you have a disagreement, this is the place that you can go to get that resolved. So first, let's start out with, not this page. Let's start out with this one. This is the Harris County Courts website. And the reason I'm showing you this is right now the courts are closed, and they're going to be closed until this date right here. This date could change. It's changed 3 times in the past. It was April 3rd, then April 17th, and now this date. But the reason this is important is because my understanding in talking to people at the courts is, in order to be evicted, the tenant and the landlord, they need to speak to a judge. At that hearing, if the judge decides that the tenant needs to be evicted, typically they have between 3 and 5 days to leave the premises. But the absolute earliest that this can take place for anybody, tenant, landlord who's behind, is this date right here. So until the courts open, essentially nobody can be evicted legally. So check this website often. I'll post a link down below, and that way you can figure out when the courts might open back up. The next thing I'll talk to you about is rent assistance. So even though you're out of work and it was no fault of your own, you still want to try to pay something to your landlord, because the same way that you're being squeezed by that landlord, they're being squeezed by the bank on the home or the apartment complex that they own. So try to pay them something. If you can't come up with the money on your own, or family members can't help you out, you may want to look toward nonprofits or churches for rent assistance, and you can find some of those places here. So you simply type in your zip code, type in the 3rd Ward zip code, and you see they have 4 places that can help with rent assistance in the 3rd Ward area. So just type in your zip code here, and you'll see all the agencies that can help you. So let's see. The next thing I'll talk to y'all about is, this is something called the COVID-19 Electricity Relief Program. So if you're having problems paying your utilities, if you qualify for this program, then they can potentially help you out. To qualify, there are 2 qualifications. One is you get unemployment benefits. The second is your low income. So I called this program last week, and they told me that the qualifications for low income are you receiving state benefits. So if you receive Medicaid or you receive SNAP, there's a potential that you qualify for this program. So if you're in those 2 categories, definitely call them. There are 2 aspects of this program. The first is to defer payments. So if you qualify, they're going to defer your payments for utility bills, and they will defer them regardless of your rental history. So even if you've been late, according to this information, they're still going to defer those payments. The second aspect of this program is your electricity won't be disconnected while the program is in effect. So even if you're not up to date, they're not going to disconnect your electricity. Now, the 2 ways to apply for the COVID Electricity Relief Program, you can call this telephone number here, or you can apply online. And when you apply online, this is what Let's see. This is what the application will look like. So that's information for the Texas COVID Electricity Relief Program. The last information that I'll share with you is for Houston Apartment Association. And what they do is they're kind of like mediators. So if there's a disagreement between the landlord and the tenant, Houston Apartment Association, they step in and they try to resolve those disagreements. So one good resource that they have is it's a Q&A page, and pretty much any question that you can think of that you have for your landlord, they try to answer that here. So one of the most common questions is what if you can't pay your rent in April or May? What they suggest is that you communicate with your landlord. Talk to your landlord, and the landlord may be able to come up with ways that a way to help you out. One of the suggestions, or one of the ways that landlords are helping people, is through what they call contract work. So contract work is basically maybe you cleaning up at the apartment, maybe doing handyman work if you can do those things. But this guy, he is a landlord at an apartment complex in Houston, and he's also a lawyer. So what he did for his tenants is he drafted up this. It's like a 12 bullet information sheet. So basically, if you can't pay rent, these are the things that you can do. One of the bullet points, he talks about that contract work. So not sure if that option will be available to you where you're at, but you definitely want to talk to your landlord to see if you can do something like that. So again, on this site or this page, and I'll link it below, you can see there are lots of different questions that people ask. Another question that somebody asked this week is, can a landlord limit repairs in an emergency situation? And according to Houston Apartment Association, the answer is yes. And the reason being is because of social distancing. So the landlord doesn't want their maintenance guy going in to change a light bulb or to change an AC filter. Basically, anything that's not an emergency, the landlord can put off making repairs to that part of your apartment. But I want to encourage you to go to this page and just kind of look up all the different questions that they have. So, really throughout this, you don't want to look at the landlord, or if you're a landlord, you don't want to look at the tenant as the enemy. You want to try to work together with them because, like I said earlier, like this was just kind of dumped on us. So it's nobody's fault. Lots of people, this is a global thing. Lots of people were laid off. Lots of business owners, they're unable to go to work to generate income. So I would say the best that you can, just try to work with the landlord and understand it from their perspective. And if you're a landlord, try to understand it from the tenant's perspective. But if you have questions about anything that I talked about, definitely refer to those websites that I told you about. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can leave a comment below and I'll try to answer it as best I can. But y'all stay safe out there. And again, if y'all have any questions, just let me know.